I had a real hard time finding a publisher for this one. But yeah, this was right after I was doing a lot of those short stories. I tried to do a Jack Ruby story. I've got 14 pages, but that's kind of where it ended. But anyway, and then there was another project. What is this one? Okay, actually, this is the first thing that I actually got published through a actual publisher, the Viper Comics, based in Dallas. I had worked with them on some short stories, and we were able to do this Karma Incorporated. I'm still very much attached to this. I worked with an artist from New York City, Tom Krasansky. Never met the guy in person until the book was already out. Everything was via email and a few phone calls. Once again, it dealt with this recurring theme of a family falling apart. There's a dad that holds his family hostage in Lakewood, and police and ambulances and fire trucks surround the house, and it's really about their attempts to kind of get the family out alive. But the first chapter or so doesn't really give much indication of that. I mean, the hints are there, but the story ends differently than how you would imagine it began. We were working on a second volume to Karma Incorporated. This is what we have after several years of working on it. And this is one I added in there, just when you talk about the collaboration between you and an artist. The burnout rate with artists, and with writers, but with artists, is so high. I heard a guy named Kazu Kibuishi describe comic book like illustrating process as the world's slowest typewriter, because it takes so long to tell a comic book story that if you're not doing it full time, if you're balancing it out with freelance work and also doing comic book work, I've seen so many really talented artists who it wears on you. I mean, you know, it's a very tiring process. And so Tom and I will get to this eventually, but I'm very mindful of the fact that economically, comic book artists are a very rare breed, because it's just hard to defy gravity for that long and pay your bills and also do what you love. This was a project that came together that I thought was dead in the water, and surprisingly came back in record time. I did an adaptation of Antigone, which, if you're going to talk about dysfunctional families, this was sort of the mythic model for all dysfunctional families, with the story of Oedipus killing his dad, sleeping with his mom, having 4 kids, the 2 brothers killing themselves in battle, the 2 daughters, you know, the lone remaining ones, and you know, so it was a great family mess that I kind of got to play with. I worked with Tom Krasansky from Karma Incorporated on this, and I thought it was gone, but then about 2 or 3 years later, someone was like, "Hey, remember that one book you did? We kind of want to publish that." Like, okay, and we knocked it out in about a month, and pretty happy with how it came together. All right, I talked about lazy writing. Let me be real quick here. If you can't read it, pages 17 to page 25. The fight between Ku and Emily, have fun. We needed to end on an odd page, meaning odd numbered page, and shouldn't go any further than page 25 because we want to continue on. It needs to end with Emily defeated and on the ground with Ku standing over her in a rage. Yeah, and then I just was like, all right, Brock, go. And so the funny thing about Emily Edison is, it's the one that has gotten us the most recognition and awards and stuff, and it's the one that I had the least effect on whatsoever. It was a lot of some really simple ideas, and then I was like, all right, Brock, have fun, and it ended up being, you know, really good, but as I was kind of stepping back and just watching. Let's zip through the rest of the stuff. Some more short stories I did. I do some work with D Magazine, and what the sad thing about this is, in 4 years of working in comics, D Magazine has paid more in 1 month than what I've earned over the past 4 years in comics. Yeah, D Magazine pays really well, but yeah, the comic book industry is just economically, it's a tough industry. But with D Magazine, I do a 1-page comic with them about every other month called Souvenir of Dallas. There's going to be one in the April issue, but yeah. And I found the sad truth is this does a lot better than anything in comics. So, kids, go into magazines. All right, some work that I'm doing for Pop Gun. It's kind of zip towards the end here. Some other work. Another project kind of putting together. This is the one that I've got with another guy, Paul Milligan. Oh, this is Diane Knox.
Oh, sir.
Let's go to the last.
You breezed over the Evan one.
Yeah. Let me go back. Evan's a local guy. He's a teacher. Was it Flower Mound or?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, he's an art teacher at a local high school, and we're working together on a short story for Pop Gun, which is an anthology that comes out through Image Comics. And what's great is Volume 3 is coming out in April, and I've got a story of these bank robbers who are stranded out in the desert. And this Volume 4 is actually a continuation of that story, but with a different artist. It goes back to the actual bank robbery itself, in which one of their associates has a heart attack while they're robbing the bank, and they have to drag the guy out while robbing the bank. And I've got a third story planned for if they do a Volume 5 of Pop Gun. But Evan's work, I mean, this is another guy who just noticed that my description's pretty simple, and Evan just kind of runs with it, and he does some really great work. One of the things I really love about Evan's stuff is just also the colors. He is an incredible colorist.
By the way, that's one of the things he loves about your scripts.
Is that I got out of the way?
Well, no, that they're so sparse as far as like because some writers can be, some writers can be very tyrannical about page descriptions. I want this many panels, in the first panel I want this angle, this guy's face, it should be 3/4, whatever.
Well, and I learned very quickly that all that high angle, low angle stuff. No, and honestly, in the film industry, a lot of screenwriters are encouraged to stay away from camera directions. Like, if you're going to be a screenwriter, stop with the high angle, low angle, pan right. No, let the cinematographer and the director do that. You just tell your story. And I've tried to do that and this is, I think, one of the keys. Joss Whedon is a great example of this. Joss Whedon's scripts read very well. If you read one of his scripts, you're seeing the movie. And he doesn't do a lot of shot description. And so I will read through my scripts after I've done writing. I'll usually print them out because if I'm seeing it on the screen, there's that impulse to edit it. But if I print it out, it's like it's somebody else's work, and then I can read it objectively. And usually it's that test of, okay, if I read it, does the story communicate? And I try, honestly, I spend more time taking things out than I do adding things in. If there's a description in there that's unnecessary, I mean, do I really? But then again, there are some things that I need to mention. Like, for instance, in the first page of this one, I made reference to the suckers that are on the counter of any bank teller's window. And the reason why is I thought that's a detail that immediately tells you it's a bank. And not that I think you'll forget it, but it's details like that you sometimes need in the story to remind people, oh, there's an FDIC thing at the bottom there, and make sure.
Well, the small things give artists stuff to work with, like echoing later on, because they can work that into theirs.
And honestly, I find that the beginnings of my scripts are a little bit more detail heavy, and as I go towards the end, I don't need to be re-explaining everything. So that's my work. Thank you very much.
But we'll get the, Jake, you guys want to go next? Or you want Christian?
I think Christian goes next, and then we can run up because
You
Dave's
guys,
publishing. We're like it's like a spectrum.
team.
Yeah, it's a spectrum. So.
Okay. Christian, do you mind?
Would it be cool for me to plug my computer into the projector and I could actually pull up some of my raw art files?
Well, Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay. Kyle's our support.
Hey, Kyle.
What's up,
Good to meet you here.
I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Then while we're, or first of all, does anybody have any questions for Dave? Anybody who've often wanted to know writing? Jeffrey, you got a question?
When you're writing scripts for comic books, do you find yourself like editing things out, because it's only a limited amount of space you have on a page.
Yeah.
You can't spend a lot of time.
I know you did this as a study time.
Well, and that's a good question because whereas film writers are working with time, as a comic book writer, I'm working with space.
Okay.
And so, whereas a screenwriter says, I can't make this any more than 120 minutes.
Sorry, I was just
For a comic book writer, I can't make it more than 24 pages or 100 or 8 pages. And so I can't fit 12 large panels on one page because the pages are fixed. Now the thing is with digital comics, all of a sudden there is no page. And so I could manipulate the size of my panels however I want to. And the space restrictions are different.
When you
wouldn't mind.
when
I'm
you
gonna
write
grab my
comics,
Wacom.
how much do you spend paying attention to what actually shows up in the speech bubbles? You know, because you have a lot of description, you talk about detail, you probably put a lot, so there's a lot of writing that gets done that never really gets